As the Little Egg Harbor Police Corporal Michael Pritch was driving his police car, a young man passing by showed him a middle finger for some unknown reason.
Why are you giving me the finger?
Am I free to go?
No. Come
For
here.
what reason?
Instead of asking the teenager why he was being disrespectful toward a complete stranger, Corporal Pritch took his actions as an insult and proceeded to restore his ego that was hurt.
What's your problem?
What?
Why are you giving me the finger?
In an attempt to detain the teenager, whom we would call James throughout this video, Corporal Pritch commanded him to stop moving. But little did the corporal know that James knew his rights perfectly.
Am I free to go?
What's your problem?
Am I free to go?
No.
What, do you have a problem?
No.
Do you have a problem?
No.
If you don't have a problem, then I can leave.
Why are you giving me the finger when you're walking? Huh? Come here.
I'm free to go.
No,
I
you're
can
not.
walk.
After being pulled over, the teenager asked the cop what was the reason behind his detention. Having no answer, the corporal again asked James, why did he show him a finger?
You're giving me the finger.
That's legal.
No, it isn't.
Says who?
Says it all.
Pull up the law.
When asked what was the law that empowered Corporal Pritch to arrest James for showing a middle finger, there was no response from the corporal. Because there is no such law. In fact, quite to the contrary, James showing the corporal a middle finger is guarded by the First Amendment as protected speech. Since showing a middle finger is a non-threatening, nonverbal communication, it is not in itself a criminal behavior, and there was no reason for the corporal to detain James. But Pritch's ego had been hurt, and he wasn't willing to back down from his position. After getting no reasonable explanation from the corporal, James started walking his way. However, Pritch took this as another attack on his already shattered ego and started chasing James. Corporal Pritch even went as far as to make up a law to arrest the teenager. And as James started screaming for help to free himself from Pritch's iron grip,
Says it all.
Pull up the law.
Huh?
Pull up the law.
the corporal turned his body camera off.
Come on. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Please.
Fucking pig.
Whatever.
Fuck
What?
you. You heard me. What,
Come here.
I'm afraid of you?
Come here. Get over here. Get over here.
What?
Get over here.
I'm not doing anything illegal.
Yeah, you are. You just cursed me off.
That's
Turn
not a
around.
crime.
Yes, it is.
Says who?
Says me.
Says
Turn-
who?
Turn around. Come on.
Bro, that is not a fucking crime.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Why are you cursing me?
It's not a crime.
What's your name?
It's not a crime.
What's your name?
Help! Help!
No help.
Help!
Now, this was not only a complete violation of his police department's policies, but also a violation of his state, New Jersey statute. According to New Jersey law, every police officer is required to wear a body camera that electronically records audio and video while acting in the performance of their official duties. But Pritch kept his body cam turned off until his backup arrived. This indicates an attempt to avenge his broken ego. The corporal had something bad in his mind that would incriminate James for something he didn't do. But in case you think that upon the arrival of Pritch's backup, things turned out to be good, they didn't. In fact, his backup, Patrolman Michael James LaMontagne, tried to justify the corporal detaining James without even knowing anything about the prior confrontation.
He's looking at you because he's like, what the you want me to do? Because it's not a crime. I know my rights.
Although James knew his rights, he was about to realize how oblivious the police officers were to the law. In order to save the corporal, Patrolman LaMontagne told James that since he was being detained, he was legally obliged to disclose his identity.
What's that?
You do if you're being detained.
For what reason?
What is your
legal
name?
reason am I being detained for?
But when James asked why he was being detained in the first place, the patrolman lost track of his knowledge about the law.
Bring attention to yourself.
That's not single.
You're acting strange. I'm making sure you're okay.
Dude, that's so funny. Like, you're not here for my safety. You're not trying to protect
How
me.
do you know?
In fact, it was another show of ignorance about the New Jersey law on the part of law enforcement officers who are supposed to enforce it. Quite ironic, isn't it? New Jersey doesn't have a stop and identify law that requires individuals, and in this case, James, to identify themselves. Although the officers had made it a pretty bad situation already, they weren't willing to back down yet and proceeded to add insult to injury. Hiding his and his partner's poor knowledge of the law, Patrolman LaMontagne said that James was being detained because he was causing a public disturbance.
You guys make nothing out of
So,
something.
by you cursing and using vulgar gestures,
So what's the First Amendment for?
It's causing a public disturbance.
What's
and
the
a public
First
alarm.
Amendment for?
However, he couldn't tell how the teenager was causing a public disturbance in the first place. But as if these excuses weren't enough, LaMontagne took another turn in order to save his buddy, Pritch.
Was I like
When you were
threatening
acting-
you in any way?
what are you
Did I
talking
threaten
about?
you?
Do you understand?
You know what a
you're-
call to action is?
Do you
It's called
understand that you're
encouragement.
acting-
Is that a call to action? Am I
you-
calling for an action to be done against you?
Do
No.
you understand
You're
that it
bringing
is?
attention to
Listen,
yourself and
listen,
getting
listen, listen,
That's
listen.
illegal.
It's behavior that's out of the ordinary.
I understand how it works.
So
but
therefore,
legally
he
it
stopped
would not
to talk
hold.
to you. Clearly, if he stopped all the way back there, I'm assuming you guys were back there.
All of a sudden, both cops started showing interest in James's safety, who moments ago was accused of causing a public disturbance. It was clear now that the law enforcement officers didn't have any reasonable justification for detaining James, and they knew it too, which was making them angry with each passing minute. After going in circles, the officers came up with another excuse to detain James. Corporal Pritch claimed that he signaled James to stop. He started running.
Just continued to walk.
I wasn't running. I told you that I was free to go, and you all
I
of a
said
sudden
stop, and you ran down here. That's
I
why
wasn't
ran
running. I
up.
was walking.
Once he
So
gives an
let's-
order
let's
for you
be
to
honest here.
stop, you're supposed to stop.
I did stop when he originally said it, but I was asking, is it
And then he
illegal?
told me
Is it
to
a
F
lawful
off,
order?
and he took off.
Yeah, because I kept walking because you weren't pursuing at the first. You
All
only
right.
started pursuing because I
So
said "F you, pig." That's
listen.
when you got a little upset.
Okay, so
you
listen.
got his panties in
So
the
listen,
pants.
we're here at this point.
Now, if we see Pritch's body cam footage that captured the first moments of James's detention, it becomes clear that throughout the confrontation, James complied with Pritch's commands. But as it seemed, Patrolman LaMontagne had decided to back the corporal without even understanding what was the whole story. After a few minutes of trying to convince James that his detention was legal, the patrolman asked him to show his ID. Complying with the command, James handed it over to LaMontagne, who then proceeded to end the detention that the corporal had initiated.
I said I'll give you my ID, buddy.
Are you a juvenile?
You saw me.
No. Okay, so
Better.
because it has to be handled a little bit differently.
We gotta
That's all.
handle
If you're a juvenile, I have to call your parents and I have to advise them that I'm out with you and that I'm speaking
Go ahead,
with you.
Piggy.
That's all it is. Okay?
Even after building an understanding, James and the officer's confrontation ended with yet another exchange of F-words.
Okay.
All right, am I free to go?
Don't give us fingers.
Stay out of the roadway. Stop causing a public alarm.
Dude, shut the Am I
Stop
free to go?
cursing.
Am I
You're free to go.
Stop cursing.
Free to go.
Now, there is no doubt that the behavior that James showed at first by showing a middle finger to Pritch is considered rude and not very friendly, but it was well within his First Amendment rights. Also, it was an opportunity for the corporal to not only change the way James thought about police by asking him the reason for this behavior calmly, but also make him understand that not all police officers are the same. Unfortunately, Pritch turned out to be one of those officers that James didn't like. If you want to watch more interactions between law enforcement officers and citizens, please subscribe to the channel.